Welcome to Chatting the Pictures. My name is Cara Finnegan, and I'm a writer, teacher, and historian of photography.
And I'm Michael Shaw. I'm a writer, a psychologist, and also publisher of Reading the Pictures.
At this point, images of the profusely documented Lake Mead have become a steady visual barometer of the climate crisis.
This photo was taken by John Locher for AP. It shows a formerly sunken boat sitting upright in the air with its stern stuck in the mud along the shoreline of Lake Mead on Friday, June 10, 2022, near Boulder City, Nevada. Lake Mead's water levels have dropped to historic lows, bringing the nation's largest reservoir less than 150 feet away from dead pool status, when the reservoir is so low that water can no longer flow downstream from the dam and impacting millions of people across Arizona, California, Nevada, and parts of Mexico.
It's hard not to describe this image in one word, and that word is uncanny. I'm so struck by the contrast between the boat and the condition of the lake and the people on the pontoon, which happens to be called the Sun Cruiser. They look like they're fishing. They've got a net, they've got fishing rods, they've got a trolling motor mounted to the front of the pontoon. The pontoon really connotes relaxation, vacation, eating, drinking, kind of the ultimate in boating leisure. You're not trying to go anywhere fast, you're doing your own thing, you're enjoying yourself. Contrasted with what is happening around them and literally this bizarre object sticking out of the lake bottom. It's hard to tell, are they interested at all in this strange scene? Is this a kind of image we could call disaster tourism? Or are they just ignoring it in order to focus on their own recreation while they can before the lake disappears entirely?
It's interesting that you mentioned disaster tourism, as Lake Mead's popularity has never been higher. The lake has been surfacing all kinds of different things lately, including a World War II landing craft, human remains. So yeah, there is a kind of perverse attraction to what's going on. At the same time, Lake Mead has become what you could call a visual barometer of the climate crisis in the news media. It's not just Lake Mead that is suffering drought and surfacing all kinds of historical artifacts. Rivers and lakes around the world are surfacing the past, and that includes actual ancient cities, including one in Iraq, and more recently, a bridge in the Tiber in Rome that was built by the Emperor Nero.
In the context of disaster tourism, people have taken to describing Lake Mead as a boat graveyard, which is certainly apt in the context of what you see in this image, the dried up land, right? The receding water. And this boat and others that have been photographed at Lake Mead, they look a little bit like headstones, don't they? Jutting out of the lake bed in that way. There's a kind of elegiac component to the photograph as well, that if we think of this boat as a headstone, kind of marking the demise of Lake Mead, that really amplifies our sense of not only what is there now, but what is going to be lost very soon, it seems.
It conjures cultural icons, scary ones. It's almost religious. And then, yes, headstone works perfectly, doesn't it? For the monument to the crisis nobody really wants to deal with. In terms of shape, it's also reminiscent of these pictures from Spain from 2019 and what's come to be called the Spanish Stonehenge.
When we think about boats and weather events, we tend to think about things like flooding or hurricanes. We don't tend to associate boats with drought. But there's actually also an element of danger for the folks on this pontoon. As the water level at Lake Mead has been going down, in some cases, it's been going down so fast that people who had been on the lake, for example, people in houseboats, pretty quickly found themselves marooned and had to be rescued off of their boats, which essentially had started out in the water and ended up on what became essentially high ground.
We've been seeing photos of Lake Mead over the last 2 years that are progressively more troubling. Often they're presented side by side, so you can see progression, or you can see that bathtub ring that keeps getting more and more pronounced. As terrifying as this photo is, I think that we are guaranteed to see even more photographs in the future that show the lake in ever more dire circumstances if it continues to be a lake at all.